Seeing as EA are weeding out their online passes in the coming weeks, now seems like good a time as any to talk about them. For those who don't know, online passes are little codes you get with new games that allow you to access online features. If you buy a second-hand game, then the chances are that the code has either been used already or won't be in the box. If this happens, you have to go out and buy a new code, either off a retailer or online. Now, the codes are normally priced around the same, which is $10, €10, and £10. They don't seem to care about conversion rates, which shows me all they want is money. I'm not going to lie, I hate online passes. They're there just to put an extra bit of cash in publishers' pockets once the game has been put onto the used game market. I don't even use second-hand games. When I buy a game, I want to make sure that developers that have put years into their lives get something from what they've done. For most people, that's something they couldn't care less about, which is completely fair enough. They just want to be able to fund their hobby, which, let's face it, at $60 and £40, is quite expensive. Many people trade in their old games and then straight away, with the cash that they've got or their in-store credit, buy a new game, whether it's a new second-hand game which they haven't played before or an actual brand new game that came out, say, that day. Having online passes seriously affects this system. It makes buying games more of a hassle, it makes selling games more of a hassle, and it just affects everybody in a negative way, retailers, publishers, and customers. I know this comes under the whole feeling entitled thing, but something doesn't feel quite right when, as soon as you type in a code for a game you've just bought, it loses £10 off its value. That's a quarter of its face value. Eventually, gamers are going to realise that this £10 arbitrary code is taking £10 off the face value of this game, and soon they may become unwilling to pay the whole price, which means retailers are going to have to put down their price, and then for online passes to be effective again, publishers are going to have to raise the price, which could create a weird loop if they continue to use online passes. Now, one of the main reasons for having online passes is to help stop this horrible second-hand game industry, which is destroying the community and blah. Well, let's stop and think about how it actually affects games. Yes, once the game's on the market, publishers and developers don't see a penny after that, unless someone goes out and buys DLC or other extras that they may come with the game. But as we see time and time again, sequels almost always sell more than their original. This is probably due to second-hand games. There's one great example. A game called Crackdown came out very early in the Xbox 360's life cycle. It sold fairly decently, but many people thought this was because if you had the disc, then you had access to the Halo 3 beta. Now, many people bought this game, and as soon as the Halo 3 beta ended, then the game was useless to them because it didn't give them access to the next-gen Halo, which meant there were drones of copies of Crackdown just put on their second-hand market, which meant this game was stupidly cheap, and it is still stupidly cheap up to today. But this meant lots of people saw this stupidly cheap game and bought it, and Crackdown is not a bad game. It's actually a really good game. I didn't even play it during the Halo 3 thing. Once people picked up this really cheap game, they played it, enjoyed it, and they may have kept it, or they may have put it back onto the market for other people to play and enjoy. This circulated around and got a lot more people playing than perhaps was actually sold. Of course, Scottish developers Real Time Studios didn't see a penny of these second-hand sales, and they were quite vocal about it, complaining that second-hand sales are the devil's child. Years later, Crackdown 2 came out and it was a great commercial success, despite it not being as good as Crackdown, in my opinion, and many of the critics' opinions. But it sold incredibly well. One, because it was a sequel. Two, because it was a sequel to Crackdown, the game that you can go into any second-hand shop and see at least 5 copies everywhere. In my opinion, online passes are one of the definitions of waste. They are printed in their thousands or perhaps millions on little cardboard pieces about the size of a postcard with tons of that really nice ink. How much does this cost to produce? It's probably not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's creating extra cost and using up paper unnecessarily. But more importantly, they waste everybody's time. It wastes time to produce them, create them, and then redeem them and put them in. Why would you punish players for wanting to play your game? Making a customer that bought a brand new game dig through their box to find a code which they have to go through a multitude of steps to redeem is just stupid in this day and age. And I don't even understand why this has to be like this. I bought a game not long ago with a cross-buy feature. This meant I bought the game on the PlayStation 3 and I also get a free copy on my PlayStation Vita. This game did have an online pass, which I was very upset by because I've been trying to avoid buying games with online passes to protest and vote with my wallet. But this doesn't really matter. The point is that this game came with an extra game. Now, traditionally, you have to redeem that game with a code, much like an online pass you would have to activate with an input of a code. This was not the case. It was very simple to get an extra whole game. All that you had to do was go down to a menu and click on Game Benefits and press Continue twice. And there it was. Your game was starting to download, you had your extra content, and then if you gave that disc to someone else, they wouldn't be able to access that content because it was locked to your account. Why is this not the way online passes work? And what the hell is with online passes for digital games? I've been using PlayStation Plus for over a year now and got many free games through it. I am still surprised to this day to see that these digital games still sometimes require online codes. Admittedly, they are given to you by PlayStation Plus as part of the bundle, but it's still stupid to find online codes required for digital games. Last time I checked, PlayStation Store, Xbox Marketplace, and Steam don't have a second-hand marketplace. So what is the point of having an extra barrier that's supposed to stop used game sales if there is no possibility of ever selling that used game? From my experience, online passes just create problems. Due to the Xbox 360's DRM system, I had to buy a second online pass for Battlefield when I upgraded my hard drive. And this isn't the only case of online passes just creating problems that shouldn't be there. Fear 3 came out with an online pass. Unfortunately, you weren't able to buy an online pass online or any stores. You had to get it in the brand new game box, which meant anyone who bought a second-hand game found it impossible to play a game online unless it came with that code, which is incredibly unlikely. Now, this problem was solved later when they put the codes for sale, but it was so stupid that they were locking out customers and potential money just because whatever reason they had. Dirt 3 also famously came out during the PlayStation hack a few years ago. Now, most games during this time were able to play online after some fixing, but the PlayStation Store was still down. Dirt 3 had an online pass that had to be redeemed through the PlayStation Store. Because that was down, no one on the PlayStation 3 was able to play Dirt 3 online. So, what do you think of online passes? Do you dislike them as much as me, or do you simply not care? Let me know in the comments below, or send in a video response. If you like what we're doing, then please click the like button. If you want to see more of what we're doing, click subscribe, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at New Game Club. Oh, it's going to look really weird. Okay. Oh, you stopped. Okay, back with water. I'm not gonna lie, online passes. I hate online passes a lot. How I do. Now throw our hands up in the sky.